Hello, everyone, and welcome to our high-tech presentation for WatchTime Live. Before I introduce you to our moderator for today's panel, I'd like to remind anyone joining us that we'd love to have our attendees utilize the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen to ask our panelists any questions you might have. If you wish to utilize the chat feature, please be sure to set it to panelists and attendees to make sure everyone sees your message. I'd like to now introduce you to our friend at WatchTime and contributing editor who will be monitoring our high-tech panel today, Caleb Anderson.
Hello, everybody. I am Caleb. I will be moderating this panel today between G-Shock and Accutron. This is our high-tech panel, so we'll be discussing high-tech and the technology that surrounds both the G-Shock brand and Accutron and some specific models that they have to present for us. So for our first question, I'd like to ask both of you, or excuse me, let me introduce both of you. We have Mike Princiotto, the marketing manager of CASIO and the representative of G-Shock. Mike, do you want to say hi?
Hi, how are you doing today? Today we're going to talk to you a little bit about CASIO and the G-Shock brand, specifically the Gravity Master. But I'm happy to be here at WatchTime Live, the first live, I guess, for WatchTime. I've been with WatchTime before in the past, so this is a great opportunity to kind of take it to a new era.
Yeah, it's great to have you, Mike. And from Accutron, we have Michael Benavente, the managing director of Bulova and the representative of Accutron. Michael, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, it's great to be here. Thank you very much. Very excited to kick off this anniversary week soon for our 60th anniversary of Accutron and to speak about our high-tech new products with you. Thank you.
Great. Well, it's really great to have you both. This is really an exciting panel. I've seen both of what you both have in store, and it's really exciting, and I'm sure the audience will really be excited about it. So with our first question, I'm sure all the viewers are excited to ask, what is on your wrist? Michael, why don't you tell us first?
So I would be remiss if I didn't have my brand new electrostatic movement watch that we're kicking off, the Space View. Actually, this is the Azuline limited edition version, which we'll be talking about in the presentation later on.
Great. And Mike, what do you have on today?
Today I'm wearing a GMW 5610. This is kind of an ode to our origin, just built with a little more tech. It's kind of a little bit more subtle, but I call it kind of our Levi's 501 of the lineup.
That is a great watch. I think I was actually looking at that the other day. And I am wearing the Laurier times Worn and Wound Gemini. It's a great watch, had for a few months. That's that. So Mike, let's turn to you first. I know there's a lot of excitement around the Master of G collection. This is really a professionally focused collection that has a lot of cool tactical aspects to it. And I know there's especially a lot of excitement around the aviation-focused Gravity Master GRB 200. I know you've prepared some materials on that, so why don't you take it away?
Okay, I'll show that with you right now. Just let me get back to the beginning here. Sorry, apologies. Okay, so we good?
Yeah, you ready
okay.
to?
Well,
we actually don't see your screen yet.
What's that?
There you go. Great. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining us today again. I'm going to take you through the G-Shock lineup. If anybody needs a little background, G-Shock is the timepiece brand under the CASIO umbrella. CASIO has been making timepieces since 1974. The G-Shock was introduced into the lineup in 1983. G-Shock really began really with an engineer's kind of belief that he wanted to make this ultimate tough timepiece. The reason behind it was that he received a watch as a gift in 1981. He subsequently dropped that watch and he was very distraught. So he kind of put together this project Team Tough to develop this unbreakable watch. That watch at the time period called for a 10-year battery life, 10 bar or 100-meter water resistance, and a 10-meter dropping shock resistance. These were the basic principles which outlined G-Shock as you know it today. So a little bit about that history. Again, we talked about the idea of wanting to make a watch that never breaks. Well, how did he get there? There were over 200 prototypes created. He actually threw prototypes out of the bathroom window of the Homura R&D facility in Homura, Japan. He basically wanted to allow the module inside to float. That was the major discovery. This was protecting the module from any shocks that would be entered from the case. So with this shock resistant structure, this is really what brought G-Shock to the forefront. This hollow case structure with an all-directional covering, so no matter how it's dropped, it'll never receive shocks to the center core. This is done through a number of things as far as cushioning parts. Some of our band wave is part of the shock resistant structure also. But really, today is not about our origin, but it's about where we are today and our Gravity Master, where that sits within our lineup. The Gravity Master is part of the Master G lineup. It represents the air category. We have 3 categories: air, land, and sea. Each of those categories feature a particular Master or Man series watch, which really kind of defines kind of ultimate toughness for us. So here again, here's a look at our 3 heroes for this season, really. We're going to be focusing on the Gravity Master, but also under the land category, we do have a Mud Master, and we also do have a Frogman dive watch, which we had just released also. But again, we'll be talking specifically to the Gravity Master. For the introduction, I'd like to show you a little video content that we have for you here today.
Since the beginning of flight, aviators have sought to defy gravity and slip the surly bonds of Earth. The G-Shock GRB200 Gravity Master provides features and functionalities that pilots will embrace and appreciate in a timepiece. This watch can withstand the extremes of flight, G-forces, and other abuses, and its quad sensor technology offers functions that complement critical information used by pilots in the performance of their duties. Rugged, durable, and shock resistant, with flawless performance and absolute toughness.
So that'll give you a little bit about the Gravity Master GRB200, which is our hero for the season. But I wanted to kind of talk to you a little about the history. So just as we have the history from 1983 from that DW5000C, each of the Master G series has kind of like their own history and a lineage. So I've kind of assembled a look at how we got to the GRB200 today. So back in 1994, we had the first introduction of the pressure sensor, obviously to take barometric pressure readings. Then we move on to a twin sensor that had a pressure sensor and thermometer. Then in 1997, you have a twin sensor, but you have the first formation of really an identity for each of these. You'll notice that a lot of our watches do have some type of difficult model name sometimes, but we kind of give the Master G an identity, this one here being the Rise Man. You'll notice here there's a little break. During this time period, there was a lot of evolution in the Land series and also the C series. But we come back to 2008, again with a different Rise Man. And then we kind of move over into some full analog and analog digital timepieces. So this is a transition from digital to analog during this time period. Here we introduce some speed measurements, different Mach. We introduce centrifugal gravity resistance for the module or the movement to surpass 12 Gs. Triple G resist, here employing alpha gel, which is a cushioning material. This triple G resist is shock, vibration, and centrifugal force resistance. Then here we kind of move a little bit further into kind of how do we take all of our digital technologies in a more kind of analog format. So this utilizes a smart access crown. So you do your watch settings right through that electronic crown. Here we built in some direction measurement as far as compass and carbon fiber hand. Here we introduced, this is like a twin radio wave and GPS reception for timekeeping. This was our carbon monocoque case. This is kind of our new material that we're using now in a lot of our watches, and then the Gravity Master, which I'll get into right now. So here's a look at some hero theme artwork. You can see here, very functional, kind of rugged looking with these button layouts on the right-hand side. And this features our kind of iconic front button design. So this series comes in 3 colorways. You have kind of this orange, just kind of flight suit orange. You have the blue and the black. Obviously, probably the black being would be our #1 seller. These will add a lot of pop to the case. I'll talk to you a little bit about this carbon insert bezel. And then you can kind of see how this buckle here in the design kind of flows with the design of the case. So here, very important for us in regards to Master G is really pure operability. So easy access to any of the functionality. You can see here they have the altimeter button and the compass button mounted along with the Bluetooth Connect button. And this is really modeled after the control in a helicopter for easy access. One of the things they did this go around is they put these on a 15-degree bevel or angle to have them easier to press. Plus they eliminated some of the traditional button guard, which would usually encircle each button. That allows it to be pressed easily with gloves on. So one of the big things is kind of that practical utility. So if you're kind of in wet and dirty environments and you're wearing gloves, you can have access to that stuff very easily. A little bit about the carbon insert bezel. This is built with a carbon core guard structure. It's utilized in the case and along with the bezel. They have a carbon fiber layer in here with a resin layer on top. So you're actually seeing through that into the carbon layer to add some weight savings and also some strength. So if we look at the key features, this is a quad sensor. So what does that mean? We have a pressure sensor, which will convert that pressure reading and altimeter reading. It'll also take that obviously as a pressure reading, as a barometric pressure. We have a magnetic sensor, which gives you your compass reading, a thermo sensor for a thermometer. And then we also have built in here a 3-axis accelerometer, which gives you some step tracker functionality and some fitness capability in that watch. Obviously, viewability is key for us. So in addition to the super illuminator LED, you do have Neo Bright on the hands and the markers around. This also features our Bluetooth connected. You'll probably see our lineup, and a number of models now are connected. They each run off of their own dedicated app. This one here runs off the G-Shock connected app. Within this app, you can actually set everything from the app, and send it to the watch, so you don't have to actually set the watch itself, but you can send information back and forth. One of the key points to this is this mission log function. So with that, you can actually drop some waypoints and location indicators to do some track back functionality, and you can keep a log by tagging photos within there, and it'll keep your coordinates in with each of those locations. Also, if you're traveling, a very easy thing to do here, as you can see, this is an example. This is Rio and Tokyo. I could just press a button right here, and I could actually swap the time that appears in my digital window with my home time with my analog hands. This does feature, again, automatic time adjustment via the Bluetooth. Connects 4 times a day. automatically. Also has world time in over 300 cities through the app. The watch standalone has 38 cities and time zones plus UTC. You can set all your alarm functionality, and it actually has a unique phone finder function where if you would have misplaced your phone, you can actually press a button on the watch. It'll set off the alarm on your phone, even if you're in banner mode. So I believe that's all for the Gravity Master today. You're more than welcome to check it out at www.gshock.com, Master of G, or follow us on Instagram at GShock US.
Great. Thanks so much, Mike. So I have a couple questions. Tell us a little bit more about the Master of G collection as a whole. Tell us what separates it from G-Shocks that are very, very well known, like the digital and analog offerings that you have, and the growing selection of more luxury-focused offerings like the MTG and the MRG collections.
Yeah, I think Master of G, I call it designed and built for the professional. So we really kind of add those features and function sets that really set it apart from traditional G-Shock. Yes, everything has a shock resistant structure. That's our identity. It's in everything we do, from a $100 watch all the way up to a $7,000 MRG timepiece for us. But really you take it past that with, let's say this watch here has quad sensor technology again, with those various sensors plus that accelerometer. You have the connected capability and just the usage factors. We do a lot with military and law enforcement. We listen to the feedback from those guys and try to implement that into our designs. R&D really uses a kind of a CMF process called color material finish. I think this watch here really highlights the material component with respect to its carbon core guard structure and the carbon inlaying dial. It really pulls in that technology with the quad sensor.
Speaking of technology, in the development, you showed us the slide showing us the history of the development of the Gravity Master.
Yes.
Do you have a dedicated team that's helping, of law enforcement officials, of pilots that are helping develop these to choose which technologies are going into each watch?
Yeah, our Tokyo R&D staff, they will go out and interview. If you maybe had seen already, there was one with the British Royal Air Force collaboration model. So you use feedback from that team. Let's say for the Frogman, they use search and rescue teams in development of what they need for underwater, as far as a compass that has ability to take a reading at about an 80-degree angle. Usually you have to keep a compass very flat, the super illuminator light and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. And I'm interested in the kind of feedback that you're getting from collectors and buyers. Do you find that the largest interest in the Gravity Master is from professionally focused people like aviation professionals or pilots or people in law enforcement, or is there a broader appeal outside those realms, just in regular everyday people at their desk?
Yeah, I think there's definitely a factor in the sense that everybody wants a watch that says, yeah, I look like I get stuff done, right? Maybe they only use 1/10 of the feature function set. It's kind of like my cell phone. I probably use 1/1,000,000th of what my cell phone can actually do. But we do get a lot of law enforcement. This watch here retails for $350. Our Master G series really probably starts mid 200s, goes basically all the way up to 1100. But we want to have something for everybody, because we want to be able to feature something that might be in the wheelhouse for somebody based on their price point. We do, again, a lot of military and law enforcement. Maybe for them, a basic G-Shock is fine at $99. Somebody wants to step it up to either the Mud Master or the Gravity Master, or they're a diver, they want to go to Frogman. So we have something for everybody, and we do a lot of trickle down as far as the technology from the high end to the low end.
Mike, we did have one panel. We did have one question. What is the Gravity Master selling for?
$350, this version of Gravity Master.
Okay, great. And this is my final question for you, Mike. There's so much excitement around the G-Shock brand. People love it. I mean, it's really such a fan favorite. Can you tell us, what's next for the brand? We've talked a little bit about the Gravity Master. What do you have in store in the months to come?
For us, I think a lot of new introductions for us are in the realm of the sports category. That's going to be a growing category for us. We just introduced the G-Shock Move, which featured GPS plus heart rate monitor. So that's kind of new territory for us. That's really exciting. We brought on some new brand ambassadors there. We'll always see an extension in the metal lineup. Back in 2018, we introduced the GMW B5000, which was a metal version of the iconic silhouette. So you'll see that growing. And I think a lot more just on the higher end materials, whether it be MRG with titanium, MTG with the stainless steel, or G steel with the combination steel and resin.
Great. Thank you so much, Mike.
Thank you for your time today. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. So, Michael, we're now turning to you. Probably one of the most interesting moves in the watch world this year has been the launch of the independent Accutron brand, separating it for background from Bulova, which it historically was a part of. And now, with the launch of the independent brand, there's at least, I believe, 3 distinct collections. 2 are very forward-looking. One is more of a heritage collection. And there's really been a lot of excitement around the independent Accutron brand. So without further ado, Michael, could you tell us a little more about it and what you have to show us today?
Yes. So Caleb, thank you very much. I have a really pretty robust presentation that I try to chop down as much as I could because I knew we didn't have that much time, but I think it'll answer a lot of the questions. So if you let me jump into the presentation, I think it'll get things started.
That'd be great.
That's Antonio, by the way, in case anyone was wondering who that masked man was.
Hi, Antonio.
Hello.
He's also our IT guru here at the office. And while he's getting that up, I'm speaking to you from the 29th floor of the Empire State Building, which is the home of Accutron for the last 60 years. It's also been the home, not at the Empire State Building the whole time, but of the Bulova watch brand, which launched Accutron back in 1960 for over 145 years. So Bulova has been in New York continuously for 145 years, which I always think is the coolest part, you know, of working for the brand. So a shameless plug for Bulova, but Accutron really doesn't exist without Bulova, as it was the brand that really launched Accutron 60 years ago. So with that said, we're excited to share our anniversary with everyone. It's coming up on this Sunday, 10/25, when Omar Bradley, who was the last 5-star general in the US military and then chairman of the board of Bulova, launched the Accutron brand. So it's rare that you have an actual date for a brand or a company when it was launched. Then we're lucky enough to have that really, you know, specific date. Also, I should add, everything that I will show is available on AccutronWatch.com for the most part, which we launched a couple of months ago now already. So it's really robust with a lot of information. And we also have our Accutron Watch Instagram and social handle, which also will be featuring a lot of this information. So without further ado, we'll jump into a quick video. So going into a brief part of the history, it's important to understand the past to know where we are today and where we're going. And certainly we honor that past. We celebrate the present with what we're going to show you, and we're inspired, you know, for the future. The brand has a history of innovation. In 1960, time changed as the world knew it in terms of measuring time. It was the introduction of the first fully working electric movement in 1960, which was the 214 movement, which was the tuning fork movement, which is why the tuning fork is part of our iconography and logo. Here you see Accutron, which really was short for accuracy through electronics. A lot of people don't realize that little trivia, but the company's name was formed through shortening accuracy through electronics, which was really the linchpin of the technology that we launched in 1960. Today, I'm here to speak about the electrostatic movement, and here's a quick video. So as you can see, a lot of moving parts and amazing engineering and technology in a different way from how Mike showed at G-Shock, certainly. That was pretty cool watches as well. But this is a different type of technology. And again, this is the world's first timepiece powered by electrostatic energy and the first electrostatic motor within a timepiece. So we say time changed again, or reinventing time. Certainly 60 years ago with the tuning fork movement, it was a revolutionary moment in timekeeping. And we feel that today we're also launching a pretty cool new development. And just to jump into some specific and maybe give me the opportunity to geek out a little bit, and I'm certainly not the most geekiest of engineers at all, no engineering background whatsoever, but I'm going to try to explain this best I can. So the watch has two small turbine-like structures, and those are the electrostatic generators that you see at the bottom of the screen. They rotate rapidly. So when the watch is in motion, while the larger turbine, the electrostatic motor, which is at the top, it rotates continuously in conjunction with the smooth motion of the second hand. So an electrostatic motor uses the direct attraction and repulsion of positive and negative electrical charges. The electrostatic generators are powered by arm movements. So it's helpful, if we're moving with this particular watch, because it will continuously regenerate energy, and that that current that's produced is stored in a capacitor, and it's delivered to the electrostatic motor. So the blades of the motor rotors are alternatively attracted and repelled by the electrical charge of the stator, causing the rotor to turn. So this system drives the second hand in a smooth sweeping motion, reminiscent of the original Accutron 214 movement. The current is also delivered to a conventional stepper motor that drives the hour and minute hands. And both drive systems are controlled by a quartz timing package. So you can see there's a lot of things going on in this particular new movement that's created. So to jump into the collections, Caleb mentioned earlier that there are three different collections. I'm focusing on really two, and the two collections are using the same movement. So they're both the electrostatic movement. Again, we have 7 styles between what we call the Space View 2020 and the Accutron DNA. And so here we have the Space View. And this is, again, very reminiscent of the original Space View, of course, done in a modern design and a modern approach. This retails for $3,450. Here you see a front shot of the photography. Of course, it has all of the benefits that you would expect in a fine timepiece. Stainless steel case, dome sapphire crystal, beautiful deploy enclosure. It's 43.5 millimeters, although it really doesn't wear that way. I mean, I'm wearing this particular watch today, and every time I wear it, it really doesn't wear that large, and the thickness is 15.5, almost 16 millimeters. This is the Azuline limited edition, and it's Azuline because we partnered with Azuline Publishing Company to publish a book this year on Accutron. It's a very exciting book. It really details the really wondrous 18 years that the brand had from 1960 and all of the pop culture and technological firsts of its time. Happy to say that we made 300 pieces worldwide, or 300 sets worldwide. They're all pretty much accounted for at this moment. We have allocated every one of the 300 to some place, and although we haven't shipped them all, they all are currently on their way out to our different retail partners throughout the world. This one retails for $4,000, including everything that you see on the screen. And the difference between this watch and the previous one is the dial has the Accutron green. They're numbered on the back. Each piece is numbered 1 through 300. Also, the strap is a bit different. It has that green stitching down the side. And this will be really launching officially this Sunday on 10/25. And this is the anniversary edition. It's in solid 18 karat gold. This really commemorates the 60th anniversary of the brand and certainly commemorates the new electrostatic movement. So it really all comes together. And right towards the end of this presentation, we're going to show it on our Wolf Vision machine, which will give you a really live up close look of the actual watch. This watch retails for $19,600. And that's a little play on our birth year, which was 1960. We're happy that we were able to actually achieve that retail price. And there's only 60 of these made worldwide, and they're all numbered as well. And then that takes us to the second collection that features the electrostatic movement, and that is the DNA. And the DNA really has a different point of view. You can see a up close picture here now. It's a little bit more rugged. It's a little bit more sporty, more modern in its approach. This particular series retails for $3,300. It's 45 millimeters and 15 millimeters thick. I think we have some different shots here. And you can see it comes in 4 variant colors. The larger one being the Accutron green. And it has the same features that I discussed before, dome sapphire crystal, really beautiful silicone strap. And here you get an overall snapshot of the 2 collections. So again, the Space View 2020 along with the Accutron DNA to the right. And so now, if we don't mind, let's switch over to the Wolf Vision, and we'll give you a fresh, actually second time ever seen. Yesterday was our first because we just received the watch. So we get to share this with our WatchTime friends today. I'm happy to be able to show that. And you see the movement actually working now. The second hand moving very fluidly while the electrostatic motor on the top is really working hard. Now you'll see the smaller 2 turbines. If we were, you just saw them move. If you were walking, those would be moving more rapidly. As the watch is not moving right now, they're more static. And then Samantha, if you can just take a look at the profile, you see we have our iconic tuning fork on the crown, and then just take us to the back. And we happen to get number 10 out of 60 right now, but you see all the details on the back and the markings, serial number. Really great. Thank you, Samantha. Oh, and the buckle. Yes. Yes, Gail. Gail's reminding me the buckle is 18 karat gold. Thank you, Gail. There you go. Okay. Thank you. Okay, and the last bit of exciting news that we were able to get finalized this week, actually I think a press release just went out on it today, is that on Sunday, being our actual birthday, anniversary day, we will have the Empire State Building done up in Accutron green. So for the entire evening of 10/25, we will be Accutron green. So we're really excited, not only being a tenant here, but certainly being a brand of New York. It really makes us proud to be able to share that with the city on Sunday. And that is it for the presentation.
That's so great. Thank you so much for sharing, Michael. I'm so interested in the brand. I mean, you know, the designs of them, the designs of your new watches are really, you know, they're uncommon. They're not, they haven't been seen. It's, you know, it's very obvious that you can see the tracing of the historical Accutrons into the modern watches. So I'm curious about a couple things. The first question is actually technical. So you spoke a lot about the new electrostatic movement. So I'm curious, for our viewers, they might not, you know, be exactly sure what an electrostatic movement is. You said that, you know, while you move, it still powers it. How is an electrostatic movement, as seen in the Accutron watches, maybe different than a traditional quartz movement or a traditional automatic movement?
It's the power source. So whereas a traditional mechanical watch, automatic watch, is powered by the movement, that energy is not stored anywhere. It just, once it dissipates 48 hours, let's say, or 42 hours for most normal, moderately priced automatic watches, you need to do what we all know has to be done. With quartz, traditional quartz today, it's battery powered or solar powered. But you have a power source. So in this particular case, you have a watch that for the first time is power source is the electrostatic energy, electrostatic power. So this watch comes fully charged. So from creation, it's fully charged with electrostatic energy. So if nothing ever happened to that watch, if that watch never moved and it wasn't in a power save mode, which the watch does have a power save mode and a sleep mode, which I could spend another hour talking about all of the, sub technicalities of the watch, but in really top view, that watch would be fully charged for 2 years and possibly even longer. Again, we're just introducing the movement today, so we have some learning, but we know the minimum is 2 years. Now, if you wear this watch on a pretty regular basis, even not every day, certainly, but you could go up to 9 years without having to worry about any power of any kind. And the more you use the watch, from what we know and from what we've tested, the better off we'll be. So we could probably blow away 9-10 years worth of energy without any issues. But again, we're all new to this, and so we're going to do some learnings as well.
Wow, that's really impressive. So still speaking about the movement, as we both talked about a little bit in this presentation, you do have a third collection, the Legacy Collection. Do you see for the future of the Accutron brand, do you still see a larger expansion of the Space View 2020 or maybe a Space View 2021 or, moving into the future and the Accutron DNA? Or do you see a further expansion of the Legacy Collection with its more wider variety of movement types?
So the Legacy Collection, I like to kind of nicely nickname it the greatest hits. So it was done with 3 collectors that are friends of our brand. I mean, we don't pay them other than we buy them dinner when they come. And we've given them probably a couple of watches, but they're really friends of the brand. They have a passion. They all are a big Bulova and Accutron collectors. And they helped us with that Legacy Collection. We sat in a room here a year and a half ago and really went through all of the important watches that Accutron had made really over a 15-year period. So the 13 watches that we landed on that we're introducing now, and again, I invite everyone to go on accutronwatch.com. You'll see them all there, nicely displayed. Those are very important as well, because the brand was not only about technology, we were also about design. I mean, if you look at those designs today, they're still relevant. I mean, actually, they still look fresh. And we did them all in the original size. So we've gotten some, commentary over the last couple of months as we've been, sneaking out and leaking out some of the new product, and people saying, well, they're so small and why'd you do them? Why didn't you supersize them? But we felt, we really felt that it was important for us to come back in its original size. And what it's opened up for us is a women's market. Originally, we really didn't have women in mind with this initial launch. And we're so wonderfully surprised at how many women are interested in the collection.
Wow. Yeah, that's great to hear. It's interesting that whole demographic, that the women's demographic is finding an interest in it.
And those movements, by the way, are Swiss. So
yeah.
we have a long legacy in Switzerland. Bulova had manufacturing in Biel, Switzerland, back as far as 1917. At one time, we were the largest employer in Biel-Bienne for watchmaking for many decades. And Accutron arguably was co-born, in Switzerland as well as America, because one of the chief engineers, Max, was Swiss. So we really have a really deep connection to Switzerland as well.
That's great. I know we actually saw a question earlier from a viewer, and I actually have the question here. Can you tell us a little bit more about where Accutron is positioned now in terms of Bulova? Will it be sort of the next step up from Bulova watches, or will it be something completely different and completely separate?
You can't separate Bulova from Accutron in its history. Accutron is son of Bulova, or, you know, however you want to, you know, descendant of Bulova. It would never have existed without Bulova. Having said that, it had different iterations over its history. It started in 1960 as Accutron. No Bulova on the dial, no, you know, everyone knew it was owned by Bulova. But then as the years went on, things got a little muddy, you know, and then it became Accutron by Bulova, Bulova Accutron, a lot of iterations. But when we started down this project 4 years ago, we said 1960, 2020, we want to be pure and we want to come back as it originally was, which is Accutron only. Price point wise, it is a bit higher than Bulova. Certainly the electrostatic watches are higher priced than Bulova. And that's simply because 10 years in development and a lot of R&D, as you can see by, you know, how that movement is created, it does cost, you know, quite a bit of money to produce. I think the sensibility is different. And I think that's where we're headed.
Great. So speaking about where you're heading, can you tell us a little bit maybe what you have in store next, what we could expect in maybe the months or years to come?
As we're launching this late 2020, right, because we're just shipping now, I mean, we see 21 will have pretty much this collection will carry us through 21. We're looking at some iterations of bracelets, you know, for the DNA. Potentially some really cool, because right now we have straps and the rubber straps. So a really cool bracelet's being worked on. I could see maybe somewhere down the road, hopefully a tuning fork potentially coming back, but that's a little bit further down.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
We did a tuning fork movement 10 years ago for the 50th anniversary. I wasn't with the brand back then, but they made 1,000 limited edition tuning fork. It was very painful, very complicated today. Believe it or not, that technology is not around so easily anymore. But we do have a dream, let's say, of bringing back that tuning fork technology in a more commercial version. So again, a little bit further down, but it's a goal.
We'll stay on the lookout for that. All right, great. Thank you so much. Minda, do we want to turn to our collectors and see if there's any questions?
We do have quite a few collector questions. This question is for Accutron. It comes from Jason. He would like to know if there are plans for smaller Accutron watches using these new electrostatic movements in the future, as all of the new releases are a bit too large for my wrists.
Two things. I would invite Jason to see if he can try it on somewhere, maybe a dealer near where he lives, and because it really, the number looks large, but when you put it on your wrist, it really doesn't wear that large. Having said that, the movement right now is as small as we can make it and still have the electrostatic engine turbines all working. So always there's a move to miniaturize things, but for the time being, that's as small as we can make it. It was not an aesthetic of size. It was really designed to fit the movement as it currently can be made.
And then, thank you. And then Derek followed up with that. Will there be more watches with the electrostatic movement?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. Philip, are you able to speak and ask your question? I just unmuted you if you were there.
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Philip.
Hi. I think I actually have two questions. One, I'm a big fan of the tuning fork movements. I have a 218 vintage Accutron. I actually have a smaller wrist, so those smaller sizes are perfect for me. But my question is the design aesthetic of the DNA versus the Space View 2020 look very similar to me in a lot of ways, and I'm wondering what the thinking was behind actually creating two different product lines with this initial release. If you can give us a little more information about that.
Yes, they may look similar maybe on screen, but certainly the watches are really classic versus sport or classic versus modern, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
the case is really different on the DNA. It wears, a bit differently. It has a rubber strap on it, so it's a bit sportier in nature. I think we were just trying to give two different design aesthetics and not, we could have just stayed with Space View and maybe done a different, bunch of different colored straps and different colored dials, but we really wanted to try to offer up two different lifestyles, if you will.
Okay, yeah, thank you. That makes sense. And my second question is regarding accuracy. I have a precisionist as well, and I like it a lot. And I'm wondering, in terms of accuracy, I know this is a new movement, so obviously you're probably still doing a lot of research into the long-term accuracy of these new movements. But how do you find the accuracy to compare to something like a precisionist quartz? As opposed to, and then comparing it to the previous accuracy of the older tuning fork movements?
We're plus or minus 5 seconds a month on the electrostatic movement. So accuracy wise, it's actually very close to the precisionist, which I believe is plus or minus 5 seconds a month as well.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, that's pretty impressive. Thank you.
Thank you, Philip.
We had one more for Accutron from Tony. Are you guys entering a market that is still existing, or is it more about creating a whole new category between quartz, smart, and the mechanical?
Well, we only,
a tough one.
Well, unlike Mike from CASIO, we only make dumb watches at the moment. In terms of nothing's connected, but the smartness comes in the engineers who really spent over 10 years in creating the electrostatic movement. So they're super smart. Me, not so much. In terms of, yeah, I mean, we created a new movement, right? So we definitely have a new movement and a new way of telling time. So that's why, one of our slides says time changed again, because we felt certainly in 1960, the tuning fork movement changed the way we measure time at that moment. And of course, now with electrostatic energy, it's another moment like that. I hope I answered the question.
Yes. And then I have one more. For Accutron, can you restore service old watches?
So I'm going to give a shout out, and he's probably not ready to take as much as could come his way. But the Veterans Watchmaker Initiative is an organization that we have a relationship with. And actually, Sam Cannon, who is the founder of the school, it's actually a school for veterans. He teaches watchmaking. It's the only independent watchmaking school in the country at the moment. And Sam's in Odessa, Delaware. And Sam has the ability to repair Accutron watches. He actually tells me he paid for college when he was a young man. He's in his 70s now, Sam. He paid for college repairing the 214 and the 218 movement. So I can get more information out to you so you can share with everyone who has old Accutron watches.
Okay, that'd be great. And if anybody needs that specifically, you can email me, Minda, and I'll pass that along to the panelists. And then just one final question for Accutron. How did the Accutron green get started? And that's very cool about the Empire State Building.
Accutron green got started by the original watches were not supposed to be space view, not supposed to be clear. And the salesmen at the time, back in the 60s, when they were training, because obviously, new movement, kind of like today, we're explaining a new movement to someone. It was also a new movement back then. So they would have a presentation case, which was in one of my earlier slides. And they also had the watches that were clear. So there was no front. So they could show the tuning fork and you could show the, the battery and how everything was working. Okay. And they would say to jewelers, well, your watches obviously are not going to come like that. This is just the training model. Your watches will come with a full closed dial. And jewelers would say, no, that's really cool. We want that. And that's actually how the Space View was formed. It wasn't originally meant to be sold. It was originally meant as a training tool. And behind there was green that housed the movement. Parts of the movement were held together, and there was green in the movement. And that's how Accutron green is born.
That's super cool. And then just one final question. I think we're looking for the weight of both Accutron non-classic watches. Is that a question? Does that make sense? The weight of all the series. And he said both Accutron non-classic watches.
I think he's asking about how much the Accutron DNA and the Space View 2020, how much each of them weigh.
The actual weight?
Yeah.
I will have to get back to you on that. That's a good question. I was not prepared for weight.
Okay. Okay, so we're still getting some
I'll
more
get that.
questions.
I'll get back to you on
Okay,
that.
I'm actually going to switch over to G-Shock because we're having quite a few questions come in for G-Shock. Thank you, Michael. And
You're
switching over to Mike. So a collector is asking if you have a G-Shock digital read, rubber, not metal, powered by solar and set by atomic clock.
Yes, if within the Master of G series, the series we just talked about, probably our most popular one is what we call the Rangeman. It's a GW9400 that is solar powered with the multiband 6, so it has the ability to pick up from the 6 clocks around the world. It does also have triple sensor, so that's that altimeter, barometer, thermometer, digital compass, and it falls within that lineup. That's about $330 if I'm not mistaken, or very simple. It's kind of like your classic 5600 or 5610, which I'm wearing. This has multiband 6 atomic timekeeping, solar powered and digital, and it's on your smaller side. I know a lot of people were talking about the size of the watches. So obviously a big difference between something like this and something like the Gravity Master we just showed.
Okay, awesome. I have another question from Jason. Any plans to roll out the MIP display tech to more traditional models like DW 5600s?
Yeah, you know, we introduced that in our G-Shock Move and also our Super Rangeman. If he didn't see it, I'll try to show it here. This is a GBX. So this is typically from our Glide series where we integrate the tide data for a lot of our surfers and marine enthusiasts. So this also has the MIP display. So we really have the Super Rangeman, the G-Shock Move, and this Glide right now in the lineup. But I would think you would see that coming into more models in the future.
Okay, we have Watch 2020. I'm going to allow you to talk. I hope that that's okay. Allow to talk. Oh, okay. Watch 2020. You have an older version of Zoom. So if you could write your question in the chat, and then we will answer that. And then another G-Shock question. This one from Anthony. What role does your brand play when it is about attracting the next generation of watch buyers? I know we talked about that a little bit, but G-Shock has quite the cult following. So what?
Yeah, you know, there's a saying out there, and I kind of, it's not our G-Shock saying, but it's kind of keeping the underground lit. So basically, you know, we do a lot of collaborations, and we work, whether it be in the music sphere, in the fashion sphere, in the sports sphere, art sphere. All those collaborations really help us garner new customers. You know, obviously we want to keep our current customers with the latest and greatest technology, but also that collectivism that you see within the watch community. So I think our collaborations really help to draw in customers from those various areas.
Another question that came in from Jean. How do you work with armed forces, police, etc., knowing that you're probably the watch with the most wrist time out there?
You know, I think it's just about listening to them. One of the key things I had mentioned before was, you know, let's say feedback we get, you know, here we are with the Gravity Master, we just spoke about $350. Our Frogman is $800. Our Super Rangeman is $850. But then I remember reading some comments and they said, hey, listen, just remember that, you know, some law enforcement, unfortunately, you know, we don't make a lot of money. And, you know, for us, $800, you know, that's a lot to spend. You know, your basic $99 piece, that's great for us. So I think the ability, at least within the Master G lineup, to have that trickle down from the top, you know, include some functionality that will be useful for them and go anywhere from, let's say, a $250 price point up to the $850. We try to have something for everybody. But, you know, a lot of law enforcement, just a basic classic. This is a 6900 at basically 99 bucks. That's gonna suit them fine. You know, basic stopwatch, countdown timer, time. You're all there. You know, just the toughness to boot.
So I actually have another question from Lauren following up on that. We are seeing brand prices going up. Is the brand going to be less accessible?
No, I don't think so. I think we're very, obviously, we want to grow the brand, and we have a lot of people that grew up with us from '83, and maybe they're transitioning out of resin into metal. So we have either the MRG or the MTG or the G steel, all at price points, let's say starting at $350 again, all the way up to $7,000. And then we're working with the new materials as far as carbon. So yes, you will see our average price points going up a little, but we don't want to forget about what we would call, our volume drivers, let's say that 100 to 150 price point.
Okay, awesome. I have one more question, and I just want to let all the attendees know that we're going to be wrapping up in about 5 minutes. So if you have any final questions, to please put them in the chat or send them through the Q&A. And then this was back to the limited edition G-Shock. Is it impossible to buy these limited editions? Where do we get them?
So the first place I would go is I would go to www.gshock.com. A lot of time with the limited editions, we do pre-sales. So what you want to do is go out there, sign up for the email blast, keep an eye, follow us on Instagram, again, at @gshock_US. They'll kind of tease some stuff out there when the pre-sale will happen for those. If you are in New York, we do have our flagship store down on West Broadway. So you can stop in there to check out the latest and greatest. You want to try something on before you buy it. We actually just started, we're trying to start off a test program for our G-Shock Move. That's the one with the optical heart rate sensor and the GPS, where you can actually come in, try the watch, take it on a run, see how it works out. If you like it, then possibly make a purchase.
I think we have quite a few G-Shock and Accutrons on the wrists of our attendees. You guys can raise your hand if you're actually wearing one of those watches. And if you want to show it to us, you can let me know too. And if not, I will go back to Michael with any final words from Accutron.
I just want to say thank you. It was a great time to spend with you all, and I appreciate all the questions. There were some really great questions, and so again, I didn't share a lot because we didn't have a lot of time. But I invite everyone to go on AccutronWatch.com. We have a lot of information there. All of our dealers, our authorized dealers, are on that website. We are very committed to our brick and mortar partners, so we would invite everyone to take a look there, and also Instagram. We're at Accutron Watch on Instagram. So all the information pours out of those two places for sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Mike, any final words from G-Shock?
No, I just want to thank WatchTime for allowing us to be part of the presentation. Obviously a different change up, a different world that we're in, but I think everything went pretty smoothly. I was really interested in what Michael had there in his 60 years and the electrostatic movement. Again, I like to geek out sometimes on the tech. So that was great. Nice presentation.
Thanks, Mike. Same.
So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Michael and Mike, G-Shock and Accutron. Thank you, everybody, so much for watching. We will see you guys, I think, at 1:30. I think we gave you a lunch break. So we'll see everybody at 1:30. It's been a busy day. It's been great connecting with you all. And we'll see you soon. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks so much. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.